loading snacks.
I love that.
Welcome everybody. How is everyone doing?
I'm very
Yeah.
good.
So or like actually okay? Like y'all, we're good. We're good. Okay. How's everybody's con been? All right. Who got cool stuff? Anybody buy anything cool? Okay.
Yeah.
We bought some cool stuff. That's awesome. My name is Gage. That's not on my birth certificate, but my name is Gage. This is Sin. That's Jokes. We are lucky enough to be joined by TJ Sterling.
Yo.
Hey Greg. Wait for the people.
Which
That's
one?
Greg.
Anyone in particular?
I said the people. I didn't say the person.
Hello, all the people. All the people. Hello.
All of the people. The three of us have a YouTube web show. It's called Loading Snacks, and we specifically like to talk about everything, all things geek. So it's comics, it's movies, it's TV. It is video games. What I leave out? Anime, because that's your favorite thing.
Thank you, sir.
Wrestling, that's your favorite thing? Okay.
Wrestling.
Not my favorite thing, but you know, that's his favorite thing. So this panel, being comfortable being a geek, is just kind of a discussion for us and for you about what it was like to grow up as geeks, and to make a transition into semi-adulthood, I guess, as geeks. Yeah, as where you can, I mean, you got a mic, you talking, you can say things into it, you know, because you like the Diddy, you like the P. Diddy, so you know, you can throw a little ad-lib, you can throw a little ad-lib in every now and again. And so, this is the kind of panel that we actually would like to keep doing and keep inviting other guests besides us to kind of talk about what their experiences were like outside of ours. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start by just asking a couple questions to you guys. Some you'll be prepared for.
Some we
So
won't.
I was actually prepared for that.
Yeah.
So we understand how this goes.
Yeah.
So look, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start at the opposite end of the table with you, Greg. Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot. Are you, first and foremost, do you consider yourself to be a geek?
Well, see, I don't know, man. I never really put like a label on myself.
Okay. Did other people put a label on you? Would you think other people would have considered you a geek?
They wouldn't have called me a geek. I was an athlete.
So they wouldn't say it to your face?
No.
Alright.
So, like, interesting, I'll try to keep it short, but, you know, I grew up wanting to be a baseball player, football, and I kind of evolved into basketball, which was my, like, true love, I think. But I was a military kid, so I played sports. I was, like, super duper into breakdancing, and I played with G.I. Joe and Star Wars. And, like, I did everything, you know? And so I didn't really have to suppress it at any time until I moved to Louisiana. Just a tough place to move to.
How old were you when you moved to Louisiana?
I was like 12. And like one day somebody let my friends in the house, like my sister let them in. I wasn't prepared. I was like, maybe.
Couldn't hide the stash.
Maybe playing with some G.I. Joe action figures with my little brother. And they're like, yo, you playing G.I. Joe? You're a kid. I'm like, well, I am 12.
Oh, right.
But besides that, no, I'm just helping my brother, you know. Didn't have anybody to play with him right now. You know, so I didn't have to start suppressing anything until Louisiana, which was a tough time in my life, but I say that jokingly, but also serious. But yeah, but I still, you know, like, I don't think I was ever in that crowd, like, considered a nerd or a geek. I made good grades until I moved to Louisiana. And so it was like, you can't make good grades in Louisiana because then...
It wasn't cool?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It was cool to
That's a plight that we deal with.
flunk and be like 16 in the 8th grade and stuff. It was,
That's not
No. Wow.
I'm joking, but I'm also telling the truth. I personally didn't do any of that flunking stuff, but yeah, so that I kind of, you know, really more focused on sports and maybe a little bit of hood rat stuff.
I got you. That's fair. TJ?
Yes.
What about you? Would you have categorized yourself growing up as a geek?
I mean, I would definitely agree with Greg when it comes to the label part, but I always thought, geek stuff and nerd stuff was just cool. Like, to me, like, when people say, oh, you're a geek or you're a nerd, like, I was like, and? Like, you know what I'm saying? That was kind of my attitude, because Friday nights or, weekends after school, it's, Batman animated series and Power Rangers and then video games and Nintendo and Duck Hunt. Like, I mean, all these things to me were like the dopest thing ever.
Sure.
And then when I discovered anime in like 1992, I was like, oh my God, this is the best. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's what I said. I think when I start talking about a lot of that stuff to people who are not in that industry, like, oh man, you're a nerd. And I'm like, yeah, but nerds are like billionaires now.
Yeah.
Look at Bill Gates, is a nerdy motherfucker.
Yeah.
Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Exactly, I want money like that.
Yeah.
And I would just say, I just want to say, like, I think I'm probably a little bit older. I know I'm older than you because you're talking about Power Rangers. But, like,
Hey, listen.
I can say, like, being
We're back in this
a
conversation.
70s or an 80s kid, like, I knew gangsters that had comic books. I knew, it was like all of that stuff was kind of blended. Like, you go to Star Wars and you see the bullies sitting in the, they're excited. So it all kind of blended. And then that's why I said the label part.
It was a little different
Because
timing-wise.
we weren't just saying what we are, we were just what we were.
You just are. But I mean, I think.
But I get the whole concept of.
The part of the importance of something like this is that those labels, I think, and the way it's seen is different for different age ranges. And so even amongst us, there's a 10-year gap in age between where Sin and I are and where Jokes is, and we give him a hard time about it.
Very much so.
Every chance we get, we give him a hard time about it, not because the stuff that he likes isn't cool, but because he doesn't know about the stuff that we like.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things. Sin, yeah, I skipped you, Jokes.
Of course you would.
You were a geek growing up.
Yes.
You would label yourself as a geek growing up?
I don't think back then I knew the difference between what I consider being a nerd and a geek now.
Sure.
Like, back then it was all lumped into like one lump sum. So it is what it was. I mean, it wasn't until probably like high school I kind of knew the difference between the two and figured, okay, well, I guess I'm a geek. And
Got it.
I don't know why that's different.
Yeah.
Because all the stuff I like, I think is amazing. I don't know why y'all don't like the X-Men and all this type of stuff that I'm reading. But
Well, it wasn't that they didn't like it, it was just it wasn't cool. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so for anybody in the audience, is there a discernible difference between a nerd and a geek? Would you say, what do you think the difference
Brother
between a
Haru.
nerd and a geek?
I would argue that a geek is someone who's just geeked out about it. Like I said, you have sports geeks, you have
Sure.
geeks, etc.
History buff is a geek, right?
A nerd is a person that takes their geekdom and makes money off of it.
Oh, okay. Now, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, that
I
was
like
new. That was new. Yeah.
I do like that. I mean,
Well,
look,
then I'm a nerd.
right. When I was growing up, nerds, geek, I don't even think was really a thing.
Yeah.
Nerd was a thing.
Yep.
And so being labeled a nerd, if you think to movies like Revenge of the Nerds, like they wore glasses, pocket protectors, you know what I mean? Like they got picked on, they were smart. People didn't just bully them because they were smart, they bullied them into doing their homework, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So like a nerd, I think, is separate from a geek, because I do agree with that. I think that a geek is more of a person who's a buff, somebody who is just extremely knowledgeable about a particular subject, regardless of what that subject is, right? So if, like, I passed a guy downstairs in a Harley jacket, and I was like, oh, he's a Harley geek. But I wouldn't tell him he was a geek to his face, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, he had the whole tough Harley jacket persona kind of thing going on. But it's the same thing, isn't it? Really? At the end of the day, it's kind of the same. Jokes, you're a Power Rangers geek.
100%. 100. I remember 120%.
120% Power Rangers geek.
Absolutely.
So, with the age gap between us, right? When would you say that it became a thing for you? Like, did you get picked on?
I didn't get picked on. Like, I kind of, at certain times, kind of fell into both the geek side and then the cool side, kind of like what they were saying. Like in middle school, I played sports, so I played basketball. But during that time, that was when I was really truly finding myself.
Sure.
In playing basketball, I found out I was okay at it.
Yeah.
But then I also found out about playing the trumpet.
Sure.
Picked up the trumpet and then started floating towards more being the band, the music geek, if we want to call it that way.
Yeah.
But I would say earlier on, like say in elementary school, you know, watching Power Rangers, growing up on Pokemon, those type of things.
Wasn't a big deal.
There wasn't like a huge group that I was with that followed those things. So I had those few friends that like I could talk to about these different things, but it didn't really start picking up until that middle school into high school round.
Greg. As a I don't want to phrase this wrong. As a former athlete, is that wrong to say?
Man, if I try to play right now, I might like just
Hurt something.
hit a hip or something.
Yeah.
Former
So-
definitely works.
As a former athlete, right? So for me, one of the first things I noticed, probably middle school into high school, like when I really got heavily into like team sports, following the NBA and like the NFL and stuff like that, was that if you're a football guy, every Sunday is jersey day. You get up in the morning, you put on your jersey, your favorite player, your favorite colors, and you dress the part. Maybe minus the helmet.
Maybe. Depending on where you're going.
Maybe minus
Wait a
the
minute.
helmet. And I didn't really see a huge difference between that and like going to a Star Wars premiere and people being dressed like a Jedi or a stormtrooper. Did you, as an athlete, did you ever notice a difference? Does it make a difference?
I have championed the cause. So you get the people that are like, because I have friends that are not into any of this.
Sure.
You know, and people I grew up with, they're like, what's it like at those comic conventions? Are they, you know, passing around?
Because it's a secret society.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, it's just like going to a football game. I use that analogy. Like, you have some people that have on, you know, we're in Baltimore, so somebody might have on a Ravens t-shirt.
Sure.
And that might be it. Then you might have a guy that's got his face painted and he's, you know, got his belly out, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's like you're a fan, you're a fanatic, and so it's a similar concept. It's one of the things, and one of the reasons why I kind of like stay away from the labels, because I feel like people are just people, and we might be here, and this means a lot to us, and there's other people that are at the stadium right now,
Sure.
getting rained on, screaming, and I've been both of them.
And it's worth it,
You know?
right? Like it's
Yeah.
worth it for them to be in the rain at the moment watching the game.
Right. So it's the same thing. And I feel like it's not trying to do the Michael Jackson heal the world, but it's like if everybody just would get that understanding instead of trying to like separate themselves and say, oh, we're better than you because we're screaming. Like, you should hear some of the conversations me and Marcus have, because he's not into sports at all.
Right.
So he's like, oh wow, so you're gonna sit here and yell at the TV for 3 hours again? Boy, shut up, Marcus. You don't understand. But then, you know, I'm watching him play, whatever that Monster Hunter game is. I'm like, God, this is so repetitive and so boring.
Hey, sir. Hey.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, right? So, you know, so it is. It's the same thing. It's just people like different things.
It's about fandoms.
Yeah.
It's about fandoms.
In Atlanta, they have a hair convention.
Sure.
These people are kind of crazy, and you know, we did a thing there one time, and it just smells like perm and weeds, and it's like, I don't know, and they're like excited about it. So it's like,
Did you learn anything there?
I learned that I don't want to ever go to one of those. But you know,
It's not for you?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
And that's fine.
That's
I
fair.
don't even care about making money there. I just don't want to be there.
I dig it.
But yeah, everybody has their thing. So.
Is there anybody up here that had difficulty with being who? I've always been really comfortable with who I am, right? But I think part of that was because I was always surrounded by people, like my friends were into the things I was into, and I almost didn't care what other people were doing because I actually was surrounded by a pretty large group of pretty solid people. But I also had a sister who was cool. She was a cheerleader, and her friends were football players. And even if you wanted to, you couldn't mess with me. You weren't allowed to. So I think I escaped some of the persecution, seriously, by proxy.
Fantastic life to me.
It had its moments. It wasn't always sweet, trust me.
Smiles and rainbows.
But it had its moments. Did anybody have difficulty with it at all? Like, have you always been comfortable with who you are?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Day one.
I would say, like for me, it was a weird place because I realized that I really enjoyed writing when I was like 8, I think.
Yeah.
And so I would write these ridiculously terrible stories, but it seemed like they were great at the time.
Did you write raps?
I did that
Be honest.
later. I did that later.
Okay.
But they were good though.
Okay.
Seriously.
We'll find out.
Okay.
Down inside
You know it.
me and Mark. Yeah, me and Greg.
But yeah, so I was like, I didn't have anybody, you know, even my parents, they didn't know, they didn't understand.
Yeah.
And no teachers really pushed it. So when I did move to the dreaded Louisiana, I'm sorry if anybody's from Louisiana. There are people that I love there, but it was pretty terrible. It was like going from Saved by the Bell to Lean on Me. If you're laughing, you understand what I'm saying. So that's what my life was like. And so it's like you know, suppressed a lot of stuff. And
Sure.
I didn't like, I wouldn't say it was tough because I think I'm kind of well-rounded.
Sure.
But suppressing that, I didn't really open that back up until I was in college. And I tore ligaments in my foot, which meant, you know, the basketball season was a wash.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let me pay attention in some of these classes. And there was a lady, and I give her so much credit because it was an essay writing class, and I would write these essays, and she would like, I was writing them for fun instead of just doing the assignment. And like the first one I wrote, she read it to the class and she was crying, and everybody's like, "What's wrong with you, lady?" And she's like, "You're such a brilliant writer." And I was like, "No, I'm not. You're just playing. It's cool. Thank you. I got this cast on. You feel sorry for me? Thank you." But she would always tell me, "You could really do this. You could really do this." And so when I moved away from Louisiana, moved to Georgia, it was like a fresh start because you know, I could just do whatever I wanted to do.
There was some freedom that came along with that. So on that note, even if you maybe weren't completely comfortable, did you ever feel the need to suppress it, to hide it from certain people, not talk about it within certain groups or certain settings?
No, I did. You know, I did the thing that was acceptable. I wrote raps.
You wrote raps.
Yeah,
So you
so it
still
was
wrote?
like, no, I wrote my head off, and my hands would be tired, but I would have all these notebooks, and that was my way to still be able to get it out, even though, and as much as I love hip hop, I really, 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 really do, but it was still like this fantasy, this, you know, imagination, this sci-fi stuff I couldn't really get out.
Yeah. TJ, you write.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're an artist.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And
Have you not been called an artist yet? Is this the first time?
First time you're hearing this today.
I don't. Well, yeah. I mean, I've seen you at many cons, and I don't. Yeah.
That is correct. So for me, the writing thing's interesting because I always wrote stories really in my head. You know, when it comes to like my book series and what I always liked, I think I wrote and drew my first comic at like 10 or something like that.
Okay.
And it looked like crap. It was terrible. It was on notebook paper from school. Something I was doing while I wasn't paying attention in class. And yeah, I feel like nowadays, because I'm writing so much of my own stories and drawing them simultaneously, it's more of an organic process. You know, you get to the point where you've written a script and then you start drawing it and then like, oh man, this scene would be dope to add into it, or this dialogue, and then you kind of tweak it in real time. So for me, I'm enjoying the duality of both processes, and I think I'm just going to continue going forward. And I actually wrote, well, I'm writing now, I wrote 2 side stories for my main title, Okemus, Ticina, a miniseries, which is kind of like an action comedy, which I'm just writing, and I have a separate team doing all the illustration work.
Are you good at the comedy part of the?
I think I am, actually.
Okay.
I don't know, we'll see. I think you have to tell me once you read it.
I will.
Because I try to make this character, Ticina, kind of like sassy, but powerful, strong, and kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like, but also sensitive, you know, so I try to look at it like, how would, let's say, my sister or my mom or my aunties or my cousins, how would they think in a situation like this? How would they deal with, you know, being a woman of color from the future in the past, trying to figure out life, things like that, and what to do with their power? So it's an interesting thing getting into the mind of another person, another character.
That first comic you wrote at 10.
Correct.
Right? The transition from the kid who wrote that comic to the adult who's traveling the country, going to cons, meeting people who are already of our mindset.
Amen.
Right? Did the 10-year-old you think that, I'm not going to tell your age, this age you?
You know my age?
I might. Would that there was a world like this where like you could come to a place like this and find people that were of like mind, that like even outside of here, like if you're a DC guy and not a Marvel guy, we can fight about it outside of here. But in here, we're just worried about the up, like you know what I mean, like it's all love in here. Like did you think that could be a thing at 10?
Honestly, like, it's weird to me now because I think the industry's in such an amazing place, especially for creators of color. It's absolutely fantastic landscape because I remember going to a store in 1989 and seeing, like, again, 2 books of people of color on it, and like understanding that even with my mother being in this store together, you know, black woman and her black son, looking comics were the only ones in there, and there's not much on the shelves, but we're still interested, they're still trying to see what's going on. I knew I wanted to do comics. She knew I wanted to be in that field. Bless her for taking me there, you know what I'm saying? Because that put me on this path to where I'm at now. Yes, please clap to that.
That's serious, man. When, you know, parents, we have wonderful parents in here right now. When you're supporting, you know, us even, you know, as little kids, like it's amazing because sometimes it's like, that's what you need. Like that's something, my parents weren't horrible. Well, my dad was kind of horrible. My mom was wonderful. But she didn't have the time to like actually push me in the directions that I wish I could have gone. So just that little stuff right there, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Anybody who's here with their kids or supporting their kids right now,
it's a thing. That's a thing. I think that it's interesting that we actually have this support system that exists in a place like this, and I think social media has a lot to do with our ability to see that there are other people who like what we like, enjoy what we enjoy, and are angry about the same things we're angry about, right? Even if it is just how much you like or dislike Superman.
And, I wanted to add something real quick. I'm sorry. My bad. I just wanted to say that I feel the thirst from people for original, authentic content.
Sure.
Of all races, of all people, just want to see something from, you know, what's our world like? What are we talking about? Because again, like I ran into a cat that had like the first Ethiopian superhero, which I thought was fucking amazing. So I bought all of his books, and I'm like very excited to see what he's going to do with it. And now there's just, again, so many interesting things. And so 10-year-old me back then, I didn't even know what we have is possible, honestly. And what we going to do 10 years from now or even shorter is going to be nothing short of amazing.
Is there, well said, by the way, because I think you're very right about that. Is there anybody in the crowd amongst us who ever felt like it was difficult for them to be the geek that they are? So there's only, okay, so like 3 of you, 4 or 5. Okay. Hey, listen, okay, hold on, wait a minute. You're amongst family.
It's perfectly fine.
All of us here, it's okay, okay?
Best of sharing.
My name is Gage and I'm a geek. You can, like, it's okay. It's okay, right? For any of you being here now, are any of you here by secret? Are there people at your jobs who are like, if they knew you were here, that might be a weird thing for them? People who might, for you in the back, people at your job should not know.
Not a job, but in the school I go to.
Okay. So at school, do you feel like you can't be who you are?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I mean, I've Well, I guess everyone's gonna look at mine. I guess part of it has to do with, I guess, earlier experience, because it's not that I see people like look at me questioningly or anything like that, but as younger, before Marvel blew up,
before it became popular for everyone, and they all knew.
Yeah, so around that time, I was very I was teased a lot.
Sure.
Definitely in that elementary school phase, and that kind of made me reclusive and twisted my worldview.
Yeah.
So that even in this super, now the nerdom is popular,
Yeah.
I still kind of feel like it's not genuine. Like, if I were to actually be myself in this environment, people are like, they'll say, oh yeah, but behind their backs they'll be like, really?
Yeah. Would it be so bad if they only said it behind your back? I'm just being honestly, if in front of you, if you were having a conversation with someone and you get to be the guru. You're the person who knew about all of it before it was cool, before it became, I've always loved being the person that had a favorite artist, a favorite singer, a rapper. I found this indie band that nobody, knows about, and then when it blows up, I'm like, they're not cool anymore. It's not cool anymore, you know what I mean? Would it be so bad to be the guru for a moment, even if, later on somewhere that you would never hear, they might think or say something different? Would that be so bad?
I want to say yes, but there's always that nagging bit of oh, what if?
Sure. Sure.
It's it's a thing I'm tackling. So.
How is it for you here? Are you comfortable here? You seem comfortable.
You better be.
I'm definitely comfortable in actually walking around and
Yeah.
seeing.
And I want to say that Wu-Tang shirt is fantastic.
It is.
Thank you so much.
I dressed up yesterday, but
I wasn't going to bring it up only because I feel like he should be too young, but I'm happy that he's got it. You know what I mean? It's cool. Huh? No, that's cool. That's still. I'm just
We're old, man. Old up here.
music is timeless, I'd say.
Hey, listen, you know what? We can clap for that. Music is timeless. You know why? Because some of the best music is in Star Wars. Man, it's timeless. Anybody else? Thank you for sharing that. Listen, I honestly do hope that you find a way to be comfortable no matter what, no matter where. It shouldn't be that a place like this is the only place that you can be comfortable.
Yeah.
But I hope if nothing else, you can rest assured that places like this will always exist.
Absolutely.
Where you can continue to...
Is your family supportive?
Yes, they are.
Definitely. Yeah.
Perfect.
Definitely my mom. She actually
Awesome.
me.
So, just a side note, my man here, when we did our Black Panther screening in Atlanta, him and his mom came all the way down. You guys are...
For real?
Yeah. I was like, what are you doing here? They just walked up in the line. I'm like, high five, but y'all don't live out here.
Yeah.
His mom's super supportive.
That's dope.
What I would just say, man, is it's okay to not be comfortable.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a world where a lot of people are interested in stuff that has no substance. There's a lot of people, what's the quote that Will Smith says? We spend money to buy things to impress people that we don't even like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Just do what you're doing. You know what you're doing. He's going to be up here on panels one day.
I believe it. I believe it.
So you keep doing you and, keep your focus and everything will loosen up.
Yeah.
But it's okay to not conform to silliness. And I think we can all agree when you say.
It's so dope. It's dope to be you.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's really dope to be you. And I think that finding a way to be comfortable with being who you are is important.
And really, don't even care what people think about you or say about you. Just
That's
care
what
only about your own inner voice and what that tells you.
And if I could, I do stuff because I go back to Louisiana from time to time when I have to.
Oh, okay.
And you see things, man, like those guys that were super duper cool and they're working in the kitchen at restaurants or bussing tables. You're in your 40s, and there's nothing wrong with people making an honest living, but a lot of them, they're doing that because they don't really have any options because they spent their time trying to be cool or doing the wrong stuff, and their options are limited now. And then I'm coming older, get some wisdom, you'll see that a lot of the stuff that you even were stressing early on, and you're saying it. It's like you know, early on what happened has twisted the way you view things now, you know?
That's right.
So that's something that you can tackle within yourself.
It's a very real statement.
Also keep, you know, pushing through. And you'll see, in a while you'll be looking back at them like, dude, I wanted his approval.
Well, yeah,
12 kids for
Correct.
13 women.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
What about yourself? You raised your hand.
So, I didn't grow up in town. I grew up on a farm outside of a town of about 500 people.
Okay.
Wow.
Small town.
We graduated class of 52.
Wow.
Small wheel.
I saw all the Star Wars. I'm gonna date myself. It's will date me. I saw all the Star Wars movies in theater at the first run.
Sure. Sure. All right. All right. All right.
It's amazing.
I don't remember the first one because my dad took me when I was way too young. But you know, my dad introduced me to all this
Sure.
geek nerd stuff.
Sure.
You know, I thought I was Wonder Woman. I was riding the Wonder Woman bike, wearing a bathing suit.
Yeah.
And then I started school, and nobody else had seen Star Wars. It would be on TV, and I'd come in and want to talk about it, and nobody had watched it.
Right.
And it was college when the re-releases came out before I found other people
Yeah.
into that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but college and getting to be an adult where you don't care as much about what other people think about you.
Yeah.
It's very free.
Sure. It's much harder, I think, when you're, you know, a child or a young adult. You know what I mean? The opinions of others tend to matter more. It is, those are the people that generally shape things for you.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to have a supportive family and a group of friends around you that are just as like-minded as you, that y'all can grow together and deal with it together.
That's right.
Like me and this dude been rocking tight for, I'm not gonna put how long, but a very long time together.
Oh, you can say it.
You can put a date on it.
You can say it. I'm going to say it.
Yeah, Bree's been rocking since high school together, and he
Oh, no,
has
that's not a date.
So what you're saying is, you're saying,
I'll
like,
do it
my life.
since 19.
Yeah, pretty much.
My life.
Yeah, yeah. I was at his daughter, when his daughter got born, I was in the hospital, now she's in college.
Oh, wow.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, so a long time.
That's a lot, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think that, for one, places like this will help you make friends, and you can maintain those friendships because social media is a thing.
Yeah.
But I also think that being, even in school, like there is somebody who watches what you watch.
Oh,
At least
definitely.
one or two people.
You know what I mean? There is somebody, right? And sometimes it does mean taking an initiative, starting a club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to find when my child decided that K-pop should be a thing,
Now we're into K-pop.
it just had to be a thing. It just became a thing, right? And so,
Is it still a thing?
Yes.
not for yes.
First of all, I didn't know that was your kid, by the way. You both look like brother and sister. What is this
He's a
secret?
vampire. He's a vampire.
What the?
We've already discussed that.
Pharrell over here.
I got powers. Came from my parents who are sitting here because they're supportive. That always have been.
Amen.
I mean, look, that's a real thing. Like one of my earliest memories literally is like my parents took us to go see, I'm pretty sure it was Empire Strikes Back. My dad was wearing like a Kangol something.
Yeah.
Right? And in the theater, oh, you're not, Pop's cool. Don't tell you about that.
Yeah,
But there was
drip.
somebody there dressed as
The
Darth
drip.
Vader.
Drip.
He got the drip.
The drip?
He got the drip. And whoever it was who was dressed as Darth Vader snatched his hat off his head and just ran up the aisle. And me being me, because I got powers, I just chased him down. You won't give me my dad's hat back, Darth Vader. You know what I mean?
So he was that cool that Darth Vader was trying to
He wanted
reject
to
his wares?
He snatched the hat. It's a real thing. Like it's always been a thing for me. Like I think I've always been in that world. Pops used to make me watch Star Trek on the black and white You know what I mean? Like, black and white TV in the kitchen. We supposed to be sitting around eating. I don't want to watch this.
You put the pops on blast.
Shout out to anybody that had to endure the black and white television.
Yeah, black and white TV. Because you didn't know.
Unless it was like in the 80s or 90s. Then,
I mean, we all know now that the red shirts died.
Reception.
But you couldn't tell then.
Back then, it was like Wonder, right?
Anybody could
What
die.
color was that?
Right. Anybody could get it on Star Trek with the black and white. With the black and white TV, there was no heads up.
The extra level of suspense.
Yeah, real talk. That was suspenseful TV. So yeah, I mean, I do think that certainly having a support system is a good thing, but not everybody has that.
True.
But I think it can be created, and I think places like this are a good place to start, right? Because I don't think there's anybody here in this room who likes something that somebody else in this room doesn't like at all. You know what I mean? In some way, shape, or form. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just wanted to tell you a little bit about my best friend, and I'm in my early 50s. I graduated high school in '83, and I met a guy when I was in middle school. He was really tall, and I was really short, and we were hilarious.
Sounds like my life. Stand up, Lo. Stand up. Y'all ever seen the movie Twins? Alright. I just throw that out there.
The first thing I learned about him was he was into this goofy British show that I'd never heard of, nobody'd ever heard of, called Doctor Who. So now all of a sudden, the world is in Doctor Who.
You're right.
And, I was always torn because I had cool friends and I had my best friend Andrew, but I was a little embarrassed to be Andrew's best friend.
Sure.
I wanted the popular kids to like me, the ones
Right.
that like sports and everything. And for a time, I kind of shunned him to hang with them.
Wow.
But, you know, as I grew up, I realized that he's the friend that stayed with me. And one of the proudest moments of my life is that both my children think my friend Andrew's the greatest guy in the world.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
When my daughter was born, and pretty quickly we found out that she had a little, she has a little, like, mild cerebral palsy. She can walk, but it's difficult, so we wheel her around here. And the doctor said, well, she's never going to be playing lacrosse or anything. And she didn't really have a choice to be with the cool kids. She's on the autism spectrum a little bit, she has Asperger's. But man, I'll tell you, she found her world in this culture.
Yeah,
and,
beautiful. Amen to that.
Clap to that.
This past year, she's 29 and she never dated because, she was paired with people really, limited intellectually.
Yeah.
But she couldn't quite hang. She doesn't drive, so she didn't make friends to do the teen stuff. But she got into Kingdom Hearts and she does a lot of dancing.
Keyblades and Sora.
And she met someone online role playing out in Arizona, and now she has a relationship, and I couldn't.
Hey, congrats!
I think meeting my friend Andrew kind of taught me how to be a support system for my daughter, even though I didn't realize I was going to have to be.
Sure.
Well, shout out to
Absolutely.
Andrew. Shout out to Andrew.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know where Andrew is, but shout out to Andrew.
He should be here.
Honestly,
The Geeks are saving the world.
One time for the Drexel Dragons. That's Philly right there. So I also know that there are people here who are probably chasing their own dreams / fandom kind of thing. So like for us, this is a thing. Doing stuff like this, talking about this kind of stuff, being able to be amongst our peers and people who love what we love, and we want to make money doing it, but we would do it anyway, probably. You know what I mean? And I know that there are other people who do the same thing. Like my guys over here, Real Comic Book Talk. These guys are
Shout out to these guys.
constantly.
Incredible dudes.
They're everywhere we are.
And we're still teaching them the ropes.
They got a little rhythm. They show us some, I think that there's something about being passionate about something, whether it's cars or Pokemon.
Hey.
Not my thing.
Digimon, maybe?
Yours.
Hey.
I actually like Digimon better than Pokemon, but that's for a different kind of fight.
Neither one of them is, so I'm cool.
It's for a different kind of fight. Look, we were all band. We all played in the band. that wasn't super cool. You know what I mean? Like, we were in chorus, that wasn't super cool. You know what I mean? So, there were always, I kind of dipped and dived in and out of, I think, things that people thought were acceptably cool and things that weren't, and was able to kind of weave my way. Like, I didn't get invited to parties, but I could go, if that makes sense, right? Like, if I showed up, nobody'd be like, why is he here? Who let him come? You know, whatever. But I never got an invitation, ever, right? That was something that, like, when I was in middle school or high school, that didn't bother me right away. I think because I knew I kind of skirted that line. Everybody doesn't get to do that. Jokes, I know you as a trumpeter, that you spent a lot of time in the band, with the band, and you still go back.
I still do.
And help the high school band.
I do.
That you once were a part of. We clap for that. He's just trying to stay in high school. Just like, trying to relive those high school days. Why do you do that?
Because I love it. And like, one thing is, especially with the arts in general, it's one of those things that is still disappearing from schools.
Sure.
And music is kind of one of those, even when I was in the band, like trying to get funding and doing different things, we had to find and be in it when it came time for anything that we needed to do.
Right. Car washes.
And it's like, no, you're right. Car washes, whatever it had to be for us to earn a little bit of extra money to put towards it. Because I mean, we had instruments like, say, we had tubas. They were held together with duct tape. Straight up held together with duct tape.
They probably didn't sound really good.
But you know, you think that. But by the time we finished with them,
they were good.
They sounded good.
Great. That's what's up.
But I love it, and I love to go back and see that same passion that I had in school still be inside of that, inside of the schools with it.
Yeah.
Because you see, like, they try to do recruiting and doing those type of things, but a lot of kids aren't getting exposed to music as much as like, let's say, any of us were when we were in school.
Yeah.
So when they do recruiting, going to like elementary schools, middle schools, just to introduce the music program, the issue is like some of those schools don't have music programs.
Does it feel singled out? Right? Because like I feel like a lot of times programs like that, show of hands anybody who feels like they're a geek about something other than the kind of things that you might see here. Are you a geek about music? Are you a geek about sports? Are you a geek? Okay. So I know that it's always been one of those things where, like, yeah, if you play sports or there's a sports program, the money always goes there, right?
Yep.
People come to those games and the money comes back in. Still, that's where the money goes. And like, if you were in the band, like we're like your second fiddle. You come out and play during halftime while people go get hot dogs, and then people come back, watch the game. That's kind of, you know, what it is. I feel like things like this should be more popular, that they should be more out in the open, that there should be more people who come to things like this. I know that we don't like when people invade our space, right? There are people who are watching MCU movies now who we're like, you're not real.
You're not a real fan.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of Captain America t-shirts. That's a new thing. Like, that didn't used to be a thing. At the same time, right, if we're not inviting the people, right, because that kind of stuff brings money into the things that we like.
100%.
Right? It feeds the beast, right? And it opens the eyes of people to a world that wasn't something that they had seen before.
Yeah, if I can add.
Absolutely.
I fit that category. I was a geek about other things growing up. Music was and fashion was it. And I really haven't been, you know, I've met a great group of people, so that brought me even closer into it. So I'm kind of that tail end of bringing it in, but I think it's good to be open for everyone, because if it wasn't out there and I hadn't met the community of people that I met, I'd be not a closet fan, but just a fleeting fan.
Right.
Now now it's open and it's welcoming to everybody, really.
Yeah, and it should be.
And there are like waves. So some people, like what we see, you know, doing all these conventions, I'm sure you see the same thing, TJ.
Yeah.
All over the country, we have those 40-year-old dudes that are there with their kids, but they're not really there with their kids. They're like reliving their childhood.
Right.
And there's portals being opened up with them where it's like, oh man, well I was a fan of this and that, you know, and I kind of got out of it, but now we're getting back into it. Now, a lot of times those are the people that be spending the money.
You're right.
On memorabilia, you know, statues, like all that kind of stuff, right? So it is like, if we have that same attitude where it's like, no, I don't want you here. I mean, I know for us, we want you here. Because we're sitting behind tables and selling stuff. But just taking that mind state, even like I'll use my daughter, she's a junior in college right now. Mm-hmm. She will not set foot in a comic convention. At all. She hates going to comic shops when I go, because she feels like the nerds be looking at her weird. This is what she said. I was like, well, okay, you don't have to. No, because we'll walk in and they'll be like, right. Ease up, man. It's my daughter, and I'll break your neck.
That's exactly right.
But she's sick right now. She's in Georgia. She's sick right now. And I was like, well, what are you gonna do? She's like, I got my medicine, and I'm just gonna watch Marvel movies all weekend. And she'll watch Marvel movies like all weekend. Yeah, and know everything about them. But that's her extent.
But that's because not everybody stage dives.
Right.
Some people just go to the concert and watch.
Right.
Not everybody gets in the mosh pit.
And everybody's welcome.
Sure.
Except for her, because she won't come anyway.
I mean, but is that because of you? Oh, okay, it's just it's not
like
cool.
my son will be, running around with his Tuskegee Heirs shirt on and entering every video. Like, he loves it. Yeah. And they got the same parents.
What's the age difference?
2 years, not even 2 whole years. Okay. They're just, like, my son has my nerd side, so to speak, and then my daughter has all the other.
The Louisiana side.
No, she's not.
I was just checking.
Look at my fist. No. She has the social, the outgoing side, you know. Okay. Oh, sorry.
You can be socially outgoing here.
She won't.
Not gonna happen.
I've tried. I've been like, hey man, I'll give you $500 if you work a table for a weekend. She's like, how about if you give me $200 and I don't?
Let me just say, hold on. How about this? Give me $500 and my daughter can work your table.
250.
Okay.
Oh, that's dope.
What up?
Yo, the hustle was real with that one.
It's working out.
I was like, Momo Khan, I'll get you set up. She's like,
pretty lady in the back, you had something to say?
Just like Michelle said, he's like my entrance fee. Like, I was like, yes. He turned 21, this is what he wanted for his 21st birthday, and I was like, look.
Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
He's also, he's on the spectrum too. And so, him growing up, I just had to introduce him into the stuff that I love.
Yeah.
And I was in band, and it was weird though, because it was the same kind of thing. Like, I was in band, but I was also voted like the most attractive. So
sure.
It's like this kind of, like, we have to sit wherever
skirt that line, yeah.
And I could be a nerd, and being a nerd was cool, because it was like, if she could be a nerd, then
I could be a nerd. Yeah.
I mean, like, I didn't know that though. Like, when they voted me from, I was an inner nerd. I never knew that outside that.
Sure.
That shines out. It's not. I don't think it's just appearance as far as when people vote somebody attractive. It's not just what you look like on the outside.
It's everything else.
Like,
the intelligence. Yeah.
Like how you're accepting and you include people.
Yep.
And then I was given a child with special needs, and I never looked at it as a curse. It was like.
Sure.
It was like a blessing because it opened up this whole other world. And I got to meet people. I got to come to stuff like this because I had a kid that geeked out and that I could interact with other parents who understood that. You don't get to. Some parents are just all, like you said, it's one focus, social media, whatever, popular or whatever. But when you meet parents that are trying to understand their children, and connect with their children, and find people to connect with them, it just opens up a whole other world. So I'm grateful for my high school experience. That allowed me to meet so many different people. I'm grateful for parents that let me geek out, and grandparents that had me watching on black and white.
Yes.
Honeymooners. I mean, like, I watch westerns. I watch everything, and to be able to introduce my own children to that, and to see him evolve. Powerpuff Girls.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Right. Experience that diversity. That's awesome.
Because it lets me know that I can tell other people about that it's okay to let your kids geek out. It's the age of geeking.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And since it's his birthday, if you get a chance, come by his table 3030 and I will give him a birthday present.
Straight
Right,
up.
Tuskegee Heirs table.
Yeah.
Kinda hard to miss this.
Yeah, a little bit. It's on the corner. Look, we only have, I guess, about 10 minutes or so left. And so I want to thank everybody who came for coming. I want to thank those who
We appreciate it.
for speaking, because I know that's not always easy to do, whether you're a geek or not. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult. But I, before we close out completely, I do want to thank TJ and Greg for coming in.
100%.
Listen, TJ kind of just subbed in. He was like, y'all doing a panel? Y'all talking about what? Yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's like, oh, okay.
I'm glad I did. Y'all are fantastic.
Yeah. So can you guys just like the elevator pitch? Tell them what you guys have working on. I know, Greg, you just finished a successful Kickstarter, and you also have the Tuskegee Heirs thing going on. TJ, I know you got a book you just put out. Greg, if you just let everybody who's here know what you got going on, what's happening in your world.
Oh man, I'm so tired. New York Comic Con will beat you into submission.
Oh, I believe
I'm tired of explaining. I'm like, if one more person asks me what this is about, and then you go and ask me what this is about. But
We gotta shoot a video for
I'm gonna try it quickly. My voice is going out. Tuskegee Heirs. It's a futuristic sci-fi. It takes place like 80 years from now. You have 5 team pilots that are learning to fly at a time when man piloting is illegal. They're learning under the radar. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see this. And the P-51s, which is one of the more popular planes that the Tuskegee Airmen actually flew. But when everything goes down, they'll get upgraded to these jets, these cool, shiny looking jets that will turn into robots from time to time. Robots.
I'm sold.
Yeah, and so they're like the last line of defense against this machine army that's coming to take over the world. Maybe.
Okay.
I can't tell you all the story. And then this is my new comic. I just had a successful Kickstarter for it. It's called The Search for Sadika. Some people say Sadika. If you want to do that, you can.
Guilty.
But I'm gonna. It's okay. It's okay. A lot of people do. At least you know, phonetic. You know, some people are like Shaniqua. Like no. There's so many letters missing there. But yeah, this is actually a historical action adventure fantasy. Takes place like in the 1920s in the Southwest United States. This young lady's gonna go on this magical quest. It's magical. Magic. Some magical stuff happening, maybe. And yeah, and then we're downstairs. Marcus Williams, you guys may have heard of him. He does stuff that makes pretty stuff with his hands.
He's an artist.
Yeah, so we have tons of posters and a few other things.
Greg's being humble. He's got a couple children's books too.
Oh yeah, I also write children's books. If you have children's. I said that on purpose. But yeah, if you have any of those, like little ones, we actually have a couple of books for them as well.
Cool. Thank you, Greg. TJ.
Absolutely. So I am the writer and artist of a series called Okemus. It's a sci-fi martial art action tale about a young man of color, Kale, who has a latent superhuman ability that could potentially save the human race, and he's being pursued by 4 warriors from the future that actually want to steal that power for themselves. If I say any more about it, I might ruin it, so I'd love for you to come to check it out downstairs. I'm at A240 in Artist Alley, right in the main aisle. And one thing I wanted to add, I was actually doing a phone interview with somebody maybe 2 weeks ago, and they had asked me this really deep question about this book, and they said, hey, the young character in the story is a young black boy, and he's being pursued by authoritarian figures that are targeting him for the inner greatness that he has. Is that really what it's about? And that's what the underlying meaning of the story is. And I said, oh man, that's incredible, because that's the allegory that we're talking about, the greatness that we have as people of color in us and how we're being targeted unfairly. Now, it is a story that's not a beat you over the head with I guess a lesson, so to speak, but it's something unique, it's something different, and I'd love for you guys to check it out if you have time to come down.
Do that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sin.
Yep.
Putting you on the spot.
Of course.
Tell everybody how to find us.
Oh, you can find us pretty much everywhere online at Loading Snacks, whether it's Facebook.
Snacks? What is that?
I never had a
It's been a long day. I know what I mean. Apologize. Yeah,
I put you on the
thank
spot.
you. But Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, most definitely /Loading Snacks. Special content just for you special people out there. So please sign up for that if you haven't already. That way we can keep coming out here and doing things like this and broadcasting stuff like this further outside of just the DMV area.
Yeah, no doubt.
Ooh, Extra Life.
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick? Before you wrap up, I want to say thank you guys, honestly, for coming. Especially, this is you guys' first? Is this the first?
This is our first panel at Baltimore Comic Con. Yeah.
Right, so that's huge. But also, like, the convention's going to be over pretty shortly. And the fact that you guys, no, this is really real. Like, the fact that you guys took your time and came to this panel, it means a lot. It really does, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, everybody, for coming in.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for sharing, too.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And thank you guys for sharing, too, when it comes to, like, you really shared some deep stuff, each one of you, that's important to y'all. So, you know, thank you again.
We decided to put ourselves on the line in a couple of weeks. So November 2nd, the team and I will be streaming video games for charity. There is a charity called Extra Life that all of the money from the charity stream goes to benefit Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So I am playing for Children's in DC.
I'm also doing Children's DC as well too.
I'm doing Children's in Baltimore.
Yeah, and Hopkins.
Yes.
And so for 25 hours straight, we will be streaming video games. People can go and donate. If you follow us on Facebook, there's an event page for it. We're going to be playing all kinds of games. There will be a swear jar. And the dollars will get donated.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing 20.
Giving you all my money already.
20 is just off the rip going right in there.
Doing the same thing.
Gotta give me a buffer.
Yeah, it is like, if there's anybody who would like to donate to the swear jar ahead of time,
I would appreciate it.
that would be okay.
It's 25 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, Greg did a great job of summing it up, but thank you all for coming to this. It is a big deal for us. We thank you. You know, if you guys go and you follow us on social media, we're pretty active all the time.
Yeah.
We take a lot of pictures, talk about a lot of stuff, and we go to a lot of places.
We do.
We will be auctioning off for Extra Life a custom pair of Vans. Yeah, a friend of mine who's an artist, Jose Jarro, has been doing these custom Vans, and he agreed to auction off a pair. So we'll be doing that on Facebook. So that information will probably go live tomorrow, if not tomorrow, Tuesday. And so keep your eyes open for that. You can get a really cool pair of custom Vans. Other than that, again, thank you all for coming.
We truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It's really been awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause.
And thank you for sharing your stories with us.
Is anybody interested in taking a selfie with us?
Yeah, like everybody squeeze in. We're going to take a selfie. Like, we need to take a big group picture.
Big family
together. Yeah, absolutely a family picture, because we are all family.
That's right.
Hey, every now and again, we have a tendency to eat a snack that's nasty.
We have some special ones for Extra Life if you're tuning into the stream.
We have a couple here now, but they may or may not rear their ugly heads. Just so you know that the Loading Snacks name, I know is weird, but that's part of where it comes from. Hey, you know what? One more thing. Do me a favor and clap it up for our ASL, our signers over here. Seriously. That means a lot to us, and I'm positive for people who are here, so thank you so much to them. Let's take a picture.
Absolutely.
What's going on, everybody? Did you enjoy what you saw? Of course you did. So if you want to help us out and support us, here's what you can do. On whatever platform you're currently streaming us on, just like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to patreon.com/Loading Snacks and become one of our patrons there.